All right, to the Jews, and this is very important biblically and in history, to the Jews, these are the three big important things. Family's important, God's important and all, but here's the thing. Torah, that's the first 5 books of the Bible, the law, the instruction, that's what that means. The territory, the land of Israel, basically the land, and the temple, those three big things are very, very valuable, very, very important. A lot of emphasis on it in the hearts of the Jewish people. What is it? Torah, territory, temple. Today we're going to talk about the temple because this is the next part of the story where Jesus, it says, the next, where is it? It says, on reaching Jerusalem. So he went to Bethany, you know, that night. Came back in. Remember, he had looked in the temple and went out. He saw what was going on. He did not like it. And so he came in, it says, on reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple area. That word in the Greek is the whole area, not just one little portion of it. It's not the sanctuary part. It's not the what's called temple proper. We'll get into drawing in a second. I'll show you an illustration. I showed it to you last time. It says, and what did he do? He began driving out those who were buying and selling there. There, yeah, in the temple. They were buying and selling. We'll come back to that in a little bit. He overturned, he threw, strong, and threw the tables. Jesus did this. Mild, meek Jesus. Ooh, he threw the tables of the money changers. He was ticked, mad. He was angry. The wrath of Jesus, yeah. It says, and the benches, the seats of those selling doves. He took the seats and threw them. He took the chairs and threw them. Wow, this is amazing. Woo! He bent the benches of those who are selling doves and would not allow anyone to carry like vessels and baggage and merchandise through the temple courts. We'll get back to that later. One thing after another, bam, 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 popcorn. And as he taught them, he said, and he said it with passion, I'm sure. He didn't say, hey, everyone listen. He yelled it. I think because he wanted the whole precinct, the whole area, that whole portico area. I'll go over that in a little bit, what that is. He literally yelled this, I think, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations. There you go. Ooh, man, that was good. That's in Isaiah, by the way. He's quoting the Bible. Isaiah quoted the Bible a lot. But you have made it a den of robbers. And that's Jeremiah, chapter 7. Isaiah, chapter 56, and Jeremiah, chapter 7. He quoted those verses. And then it goes on and see the reaction. Ooh, this is the big, big thing that tipped the scale of the scribes, elders, Pharisees, Sanhedrin. They were mad at him and they wanted to destroy him and kill him. So they even did more plotting and planning. Well, there you have it. Now, in John chapter 2, once we get to there, he had already done this the first year, and then he skipped a year, unless he did it every year. In the third year, first year and the third year of his ministry, he did this. He did this again. Now, there are a lot of scholars and believers that, I mean, you know, they believe that it was only one time and that John just kind of mentioned in the beginning. I don't think so. I think it was twice. There's too many differences. But anyway, 2 times he did this. Now, let's get a picture of this. And here's the picture. So we've got sort of a pretty good drawing here based on especially Josephus, the historian, and many other things. And by the way, there are a lot of artifacts, like archaeological digs of especially this area, I suppose, and the ceiling and all. So this is northeast, west, south, and this is a big temple. The temple, I'll go over some facts a little bit later on this. I didn't count those. I just put a bunch of dots. 162 big columns. I think I may have said this wrong. It's 3 men. If you put 3 men together hand in hand, I don't know if I said this last time or not, whatever. If you hold hands like big guys, 3 of them, and make a big circle, that's how big each one of these columns are. 162 of these huge Corinthian columns, like way up high. Was it 30 feet? I can't remember. Really huge things. So you would come in, he came in here, and this is where I believe, This is where they did the selling of the doves and the sheep and the money changers and everything. I'll explain that a little bit later. I think this is going to go more than one video. There's so much wonderful stuff to talk about. They call this the royal portico or royal porch, this area. By the way, here's Solomon's porch, which there's stories about that, like in the Bible. But right here, this is a royal porch. And so you would come in here, and it was a ceiling. It was way up. By the way, they found artifacts and archaeological pieces of that ceiling with beautiful ornate decorations and all. Really cool. Josephus actually described them. But anyway, they came in. Now look here, look how large this Gentile area is, court of the Gentiles. And as a review, if you didn't see it before, or as a review, this is where the whole world can go in here and they can worship Yahweh, Israel's God, the true God of the whole universe, by the way. The court of the Gentiles here, it's huge. I'm not even sure about this. I've read different things. I think 3 by 3 football fields by 3 football fields. I've also read that as in calculations it's 23 football fields. I'm not sure which, but anyway, or 23 acres or something. Anyway, I'll go over some possible sizes here. The thing is, it is huge. Nowadays, I was actually standing right about here. I went to Israel. Of course, this temple wasn't there, but a piece of it is right back down in here. But right here is there's a mosque, a dome there for Muslims, but not at this point in 1st century. So here he came in, and this is where he threw the tables, and he really, threw the seats, the chairs and everything, and then he yelled out. All right, so this is where the Gentiles could, anybody, the world, the Jews or Gentiles could come and worship God. Now, there were little walls about 4 feet, 4.5 feet, that were like little plaques, like little walls here. Now, you could walk through there, but it had one. There was an actual find on that, an actual wall that they found, by the way, that says that. That says anybody who is not a Jew who passes through that to get into these courts over here is consequence of death. So they would kill them if they did. So you just wouldn't do that. Now, all the Jews were allowed in here. The Jews were allowed here, plus in here, men and women were allowed here. It's called Court of Women because that's where the women had to stop. In other words, men and women were allowed here, but the women couldn't go on to this one. And this is a Court of Israel. This is Court of the Jewish men. And it's a thinner court right here. It's like it goes around here. And then you have the court of priests. Now, only the priests were allowed there. Only the men were allowed here. And then Jewish men. And then the Jewish men priests were allowed in this area. This is a court of priests. And then you have the holy place of priests. There's 3 courts to the court of priests. You have this area, then you have this area that you're allowed to go there only like if you're chosen by drawing, like straws type thing, if you're selected. And then from there, there's high priest is only allowed in the most holy place. So there's that. And so there's your temple. A little bit more about the temple that might find it pretty interesting. And parts of it I'm still studying on, and I'm trying to collect information over years. It's built on Mount Zion. There's different mountains right there. It's up there. It's about 1/5, I think I said this last time, 1/5 the size of Jerusalem. It's really big. The temple was about, the temple was about 26 acres. Yeah, that's what it is, acres. And then about 3 football fields by 3 football fields, it's something like that. At least that's when someone commented on it. You could put 210,000 people there. That's a large place in that temple. And then during times of Passover, tabernacles, and different feasts, when necessary, you could have 400,000. 210,000 people usually, 400,000 people. That's twice that many on times of crowds. So there were a lot of crowds. And so when Jesus did this, it was a lot of crowds. It's Passover time. Woo! Now the walls were 10 stories high, and they varied on each side of that temple. 390 yards from north to south by 330 yards east to west by on the north, and 310 yards east to west on the south. That's huge. The area of selling was a royal porch, which is what I said. There's 162 columns. So that's just a few facts. I have a ton of facts written down over time, but this is pretty amazing here. So again, when they went in there, and by the way, what were the disciples thinking? They were, Jesus, this is the holy place, and Jesus, you are really going to upset people? Like the leadership? By the way, the selling of that stuff, it belonged to Annas and his family. The high priest, he challenged the high priest by doing this, the highest guy in Israel. It's like he's the top guy, the top religious guy and all. He took away business, and he hurt their business. He threw the tables, which means coins, and went right all over the place. He threw it. They found out about it. Wow, was he upset? Annas. Now, the actual acting high priest at that time was Caiaphas, the son-in-law of Annas. So, but it's a family-owned business, and he came against their business big time. He challenged the authority of the high priest. So when he did this, so here it is, he drove out those who were buying us. He drove them out. Get out of this place. So they scattered. Now it's interesting. Think about this. One guy, just one man is doing this. Now he did make a rope and whip. Now it doesn't mention it in this gospel and the others, except John, it does mention it. Of course, that was the first time. Maybe he didn't do it the second time. And he didn't whip anybody, I believe, but he took some of the cattle and the sheep that were being sold and all. They kind of scattered them, you know, so he, oh, wow, this is pretty amazing. And he overturned the tables of the money changers. He threw that, and benches of those who sold doves. Doves are there's three uses in the book of Leviticus. There's like, this is a large part of the sacrifices and offerings that they gave. The doves were for poor people because they couldn't afford like cattle or bulls or goats or sheep, and also God allowed them to buy way cheaper, and that's doves. And also it was used for the leper. That was a special sacrifice for the lepers, and then also for childbirth. If a woman just had a baby and they came in, like Mary brought Jesus, you know, after 33 days after he was born, and they came into the temple area, and that was the sacrifice for that. But so that right there they were selling doves and everything. So you could, now here's another thing. They could buy doves and sheep and all that outside of the temple. You know, they could buy it a lot cheaper. But this is a money-making business, and this is why he overthrew that. They were stealing and cheating. It was like really, really exploitation. They were really taking, like, here's what would happen. You would come in, like from all over the world, they came. And if you brought your sheep and goats, and then you came all the way there and you wanted to offer it as a sacrifice, they had like temple inspectors, sheep animal inspectors, doves and all of them. And they would look at the animal, let's say this bull, for example. They look at, oh, nope, this is not going to be good enough because there's a blemish. There's a fault here, there's a problem here. And, well, you just can't take a blemished, faulty sacrifice and give it to God, which is true. The Bible says that. So you'll have to kind of buy one of ours. And they had a lot of sheep, and they had stalls for animals and birds. They had their own doves and all that. You have to buy one of ours. And like a dove, they sold it for as much up to 15 times the amount. 15. A lot of times it's just 3 times the amount. 3 times the amount, that's still expensive. But they could go all the way up to 15 times like the amount. And so they were ripping off the people of God. The people who were coming to worship, the pilgrims, like from all over the world, coming in to worship God and you know, and have a big celebration and love Him and all this Passover time. They would jack up the prices big time and make a lot of money, and that money was going into the priest, high priest, Annas family, and they were getting rich because of that. They were using these people of God. It was a scam. It was swindling them. It was awful. And so, you know, people would just go ahead and pay it. The other thing is, once a year, the people of God, the Jewish people, were supposed to pay a temple tax. You know, it's a half shekel. That's what it says in the book of, I think it's in Leviticus, a half shekel. And then the coin was supposed to go into the temple, right? But then you wouldn't take a coin. I have these clay coins here. you wouldn't take a coin that has some image on it. Like, see this image right here? Of course, this is George Washington. Like this image, you wouldn't have any image on it because it was like worship. It's in the temple. You don't want to defile it. It's a sacred place. So they had a special Tyrian, T-Y-R-A-N, Tyrian coin made that you could use in the temple. So what they had to do is let's say they're coming from all over the world, like from Syria and, everywhere, Egypt and, Rome, and you had all these coins, and then to be able to get the half shekel, to be able to use a half shekel to get that to pay your tax, the temple tax, to help provide, the money for the temple, and they would have to exchange this. Like, it's like going into another country. If you go to beautiful Mexico, it's pesos. And then you go to rupees in India. You go and you exchange money. You bring your American money or wherever you're from, England or Australia or whatever, and then you would exchange it, and then you would change in their money. Well, they would jack up the prices there, at least 10%. Like if you give them $1, and then now you had to give them $1 in a dime, for example, because they wanted that extra money. So they were stuffing their pockets, these money changers. And the big thing that really irked Jesus was the ripoff of all these people. They're coming to worship God, and they're just it's a money-making business. Ugh. So not good. And that's why Jesus got angry. And he's angry today with people in the church and in the Christian, place trying to make money. There's people like that. It's really sad. They're charlatans, and they're trying to make money off of the people of God. So why was Jesus so angry? I have a few reasons here. One is he was stealing and cheating the worshipers. Here they're coming to worship, and they're trying to make money off of these worshipers. Not good. Another one is they were defiling God's holy place. Defiling it, it was a desecration. Like, they would come in, and instead of being a time of singing and prayer and people worshiping, it was a marketplace. It was a mall. Like, it was like noisy and smelly right in that area. They should have sold it outside and kept the prices way down. Not in the temple of God. That's why Jesus said, my house shall be called a house of prayer. You made it a merchandise place, a marketplace, a selling and buying thing. Noisy. It was a lot of activity, hustle, bustle. Not good. Not good. So they were defiling God's holy place. They were supposed to be, use it. It's like the church building. You should use the church for various things, especially worship and prayer and all that. All right, next one is they were hurting the Gentiles' worship. He mentions here, if you notice, that was their Gentiles area. The whole world could come and worship God. And it says right here that my house shall be a house of prayer for all nations, for all the nations, Gentiles, the court of Gentiles. And so that was a problem in the court of Gentiles thing. He also may have not really liked the idea of the division, those little wall things that kept the Gentiles and Jews separated. I don't think he wanted that. But regardless, Paul mentions, by the way, to go a little deeper in the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, how that wall of division has been broken down through Jesus Christ, and he makes Gentiles and Jews one. But anyway, that's some other discussion. Is that all I want to say right now? That's a lot, isn't it? Let's just review just briefly. It says, on reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple area. He planned this and began driving out those who were buying and selling there. Ooh, they didn't like that. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves, and would not allow anyone to, I didn't mention this. He did not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple. So what that was like is you had on this side, if you remember over here, the Mount of Olives right here. Go through the Kidron Valley and come through the gate of the Golden Gate right here, the Eastern Gate. And then you enter the temple, you could go right through here, I suppose. Usually it's down here, but you could go through here. But people were coming through here. Yeah, I guess they had to be coming through here. And they wanted to get over here, like there's probably a gate here, and they would go like this, and they would cut through the temple area as a shortcut, because they wanted to come to the city part. The city is over here. So you got the mountains, you have the temple, and you have the city. And so they wanted to do a shortcut. So people were walking straight through like the temple, like walking through church to get somewhere with their baggage or their luggage or their merchandise they want to go sell and buy in the city or something. What? He stopped them. Think about that. Jesus must have been intimidating, you know. And he came in, stop, don't go through here, go around. Don't be so lazy, you know, go around. This is a place of prayer, hello. You know, so I love this. By the way, I think I'll end, well, let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, and would not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts. As he taught them, he quoted, is it not written, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations, but you have made it a den of robbers. And some say thieves, but that word robber is more the accurate word. There's a difference in the Greek of robbers and thieves. And robbers kind of more systematically plan it. It's like the people that's going to Jericho, you know, from Jerusalem to Jericho. Jesus told about that parable because they were hiding in caves and all that, and people would come out through the mountains. There's all these turns and all that. And a den of robbers, you know, were like that Jericho road. So instead of just, a thief might say, oh, look, someone just put something down that's theirs and they steal it. The robbers were systematic planners. They weren't just taking it at an opportunity. So they were systematically stealing from the people of God. Not good. Did I give you all the other reasons? Yeah, I did. I just want to end with this. It's very important to have a correct view of Jesus. Now, it is so true, and don't forget this, he's very kind, very sweet, very gentle, very loving, patient. Woo, he's all those things. Yet, he's God, and he's angry, and he's going to come back with wrath, anger, and he's going to destroy the world. Jesus Christ is. He's a judge of all the earth. So meek, mild, gentle Jesus is also the, frightening, fearful Lord of all, and King and Judge. That's why you need to give him lordship now. Lord, I want to please you, and humble yourself, and he won't destroy you. So he's going to destroy the earth. He's going to destroy people. He's going to be the judge and cast people into hell. Jesus is nothing to fool with. He's nobody to fool with. So I love this correct picture of Jesus, that he's sweet and kind, but he can get angry. I like that Psalm 2. It says, kiss the Son, lest he become really angry with you and all. How does it say that? It's a really good passage there. Psalm 2. And this is actually talking about Jesus in the Old Testament, even before he came. It says, oh, wow, this whole thing, a lot of this is about Jesus. I could quote a lot of this. But then it says down here, kiss the Son, lest he be angry. That's what I was remembering. Last verse of chapter 2, verse 12 says, kiss the Son. In other words, love him, be affectionate towards him, lest he be angry, and you perish in the way. And then it goes on and says, when his wrath is kindled but a little, wow, his anger is kindled, like fired up. He was fired up when he threw those tables. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. So you need to come to God, come to Jesus, give your life to him, and please him. Don't let him turn against you. All right, thank you for listening. God bless you.